The Power of Listening, Mastering Deep Connections Through Active Engagement by Waleed. Introduction. Welcome to The Power of Listening, an audiobook designed to transform the way you connect with others. In a world filled with noise, true communication requires more than just hearing words. It demands active engagement, empathy, and a deep understanding of the unspoken messages. Whether you're striving to enhance your relationships, improve workplace dynamics, or simply become a better conversationalist, this audiobook will guide you on a journey to mastering the art of deep listening. You'll discover the secrets to unlocking richer, more meaningful connections with every conversation. What's inside? Unlock the secrets to listening deeply and enriching your connections with every conversation. Understand the power of body language and why it speaks louder than words. Turn empathy into influence and navigate conversations with ease. Practical steps to improve your listening skills, making you a more effective communicator. Establish harmony in the workplace by smoothing out communication and eliminating barriers. You'll learn why body language is a powerful tool in communication, how to use empathy to influence others positively. Simple yet effective ways to enhance your listening skills. Techniques to establish harmony and improve workplace dynamics. The correlation between communication and emotions and how to leverage it. How to eliminate listening barriers and communicate more smoothly. The art of persuasion and how to use it to your advantage. Focus points. The transformative potential of active listening. When and how to use critical thinking and reflection in conversations. Enhancing your performance through better communication. Understanding the emotional undercurrents in communication. Identifying and overcoming listening barriers. Techniques for smoother, more effective communication. Harnessing the art of persuasion in your interactions. This audiobook is your comprehensive guide to becoming a better listener and communicator, empowering you to build stronger, more meaningful connections in every aspect of your life. Focus point 1. The transformative potential of active listening. Imagine you're in a meeting where everyone is talking, but no one is truly listening. Ideas bounce around the room, but they never seem to land anywhere meaningful. Now, picture the same meeting, but this time, one person is fully engaged, making eye contact, nodding thoughtfully, and asking insightful questions. That person isn't just hearing the words being said, they're actively listening. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. Conversations deepen, solutions emerge, and a sense of connection fills the room. This is the transformative power of active listening. Active listening is more than just a skill, it's a mindset. It's about being fully present in a moment, tuning into not just the words but the emotions and intentions behind them. When you listen actively, you create a space where others feel heard, valued, and understood. This can lead to stronger relationships, more effective collaboration, and even personal growth. The magic of being present. One of the key elements of active listening is presence. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get distracted by our thoughts, phones, or the next item on our to-do list. But when you choose to be present, you send a powerful message. I'm here with you.
You matter to me.
This level of attention can be incredibly validating for the speaker, making them more likely to open up and share honestly. Consider this quote by Stephen R. Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Covey's words highlight a common pitfall in communication, listening just enough to prepare our response. Active listening flips this script by focusing entirely on understanding the other person's perspective before crafting a response. The ripple effect of empathy. Empathy is the heart of active listening. When you genuinely try to understand how someone else feels, you build a bridge between your experience and theirs. This connection can lead to greater trust and collaboration. For instance, in a workplace setting, a manager who practices active listening and shows empathy towards their team is more likely to foster a positive and productive environment. Employees feel valued, and in return, they're more engaged and motivated. A real-life example. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend who's going through a tough time. Instead of jumping in with advice or trying to fix the problem, you simply listen. You acknowledge their feelings by saying things like, "That sounds really difficult," or "I can see why you'd feel that way." This doesn't just help your friend feel supported, it also deepens your relationship. They'll remember that you were there for them, not just to talk but to listen. Tips for practicing active listening. Make eye contact. This shows the speaker that they have your full attention. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage the speaker to elaborate by asking questions like, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What do you think will happen next?" Paraphrase and reflect. Summarize what the speaker has said to show that you understand. For example, "So, what I'm hearing is that you're feeling overwhelmed by your workload." Avoid interrupting. Let the speaker finish their thoughts before you jump in. This can be tough, especially if you're eager to respond, but it's essential for truly understanding their perspective. The bottom line: active listening has the power to transform not just conversations but relationships and environments. By being present, showing empathy, and genuinely engaging with others, you create a space where meaningful connections can flourish. As you practice active listening, you'll likely notice a shift in how others respond to you. They may open up more, trust you more, and even seek out your company more often. In the words of Carl Rogers, a pioneer in psychology, when someone really hears you without passing judgment on you, without trying to take responsibility for you, without trying to mold you, it feels damn good. So, the next time you're in a conversation, remember, active listening isn't just about hearing, it's about understanding, connecting, and transforming the way you engage with the world. Focus point 2. When and how to use critical thinking and reflection in conversations. Conversations are more than just exchanges of words. They're opportunities to explore ideas, challenge assumptions, and grow together. While active listening is about being fully present and empathetic, adding critical thinking and reflection to the mix can take your conversations to a deeper, more insightful level. It's like adding layers to a cake. Each layer adds richness and complexity, making the whole experience more satisfying. The power of pausing. Imagine you're in a discussion about a complex topic. Maybe it's a heated debate about a work project or a deep conversation about life goals. It's easy to get swept up in the moment and react impulsively. But what if, instead of jumping in with your immediate thoughts, you took a moment to pause and reflect? This pause is powerful. It allows you to process what's been said, consider different perspectives, and respond more thoughtfully. Critical thinking involves analyzing information, questioning assumptions, and evaluating evidence before forming a conclusion. When you apply this in conversations, you're not just reacting to what's being said, you're engaging with it on a deeper level. For instance, if someone presents an idea that challenges your beliefs, instead of dismissing it outright, you might ask yourself, what evidence supports this? Could there be some truth to it that I haven't considered? A real-world example: the power of reflection. Let's say you're having a conversation with a colleague about a new project. They suggest a strategy that seems risky to you. Instead of immediately expressing your concerns, you take a moment to reflect. You consider the potential benefits and risks, the context of the situation, and your colleague's perspective. Then you might respond with something like, "I see where you're coming from, and I think there's merit to your idea. I'm also wondering if we should consider potential challenges, like X and Y, before moving forward. What are your thoughts on that?" This kind of response doesn't just show that you've listened. It demonstrates that you've thought deeply about the issue and are open to a constructive dialogue. It turns the conversation into a collaborative problem-solving session rather than a simple exchange of opinions. Critical thinking in action. Asking the right questions. One of the most effective ways to apply critical thinking in conversations is by asking questions, specifically open-ended questions that encourage deeper exploration. For example, if someone presents a solution to a problem, you might ask, "What led you to this conclusion? What alternatives did you consider? How do you think this approach will impact the overall project?" These questions aren't about challenging the other person's ideas aggressively, but about understanding their thought process and considering different angles. By doing this, you not only deepen your understanding, but also help the other person clarify their own thinking. Balancing reflection and engagement. While reflection and critical thinking are essential, it's also important to stay engaged and responsive in the conversation. There's a fine balance between taking time to think and maintaining the flow of dialogue. Here's where the art of timing comes in. If you need a moment to think, you can say something like, "That's an interesting point. Let me take a second to process that." This shows that you're engaged and respectful of the conversation, even as you take time to reflect. The reflective practitioner. Learning from conversations. Conversations aren't just about the exchange that happens in the moment. They're also opportunities for learning and growth. After a significant conversation, take time to reflect on what was discussed, how you responded, and what you can learn from the interaction. This practice, known as being a reflective practitioner, can help you continuously improve your communication skills and critical thinking abilities. Recommendations for using critical thinking and reflection. Pause before responding. Give yourself a moment to think critically about what's been said before jumping in with a response. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage deeper discussion by asking questions that require more than a yes or no answer. Consider different perspectives. Before forming a conclusion, think about the issue from multiple angles. Reflect after the conversation. Take time to analyze the conversation after it's over. What went well? What could have been handled differently? A quote to reflect on. As Albert Einstein once said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Applying critical thinking and reflection in your conversations is about breaking free from habitual responses and engaging with ideas in a way that leads to real insight and progress.
The bottom line.
Incorporating critical thinking and reflection into your conversations isn't just about making them more interesting, it's about making them more meaningful. By taking the time to think deeply and reflect, you can transform ordinary exchanges into opportunities for growth, both for yourself and for the people you're engaging with. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, remember that a little pause, a thoughtful question, or a moment of reflection can turn a simple dialogue into something truly transformative. Focus point 3. Enhancing your performance through better communication. Effective communication is the backbone of success, whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or any collaborative effort. Imagine a team that's in sync, where everyone understands their roles, shares ideas freely, and works toward the common goal. Now, contrast that with a team where miscommunications lead to missed deadlines, frustration, and confusion. The difference between these scenarios isn't just about the flow of information, it's about the quality of communication. When communication is clear, concise, and purposeful, it can significantly enhance your performance and that of those around you. The role of communication in success. Let's start with a simple truth. Communication is more than just exchanging information. It's about ensuring that the information is understood in the way it was intended. This means paying attention not just to what you say, but how you say it and how the other person is likely to receive it. Consider the example of a project manager who needs to relay a complex set of instructions to their team. If they simply list out the tasks without ensuring everyone understands their role and the bigger picture, the project might derail. However, if they take the time to explain the rationale behind the tasks, check for understanding, and encourage questions, the team is more likely to perform well, feel motivated, and meet deadlines. The power of clarity. One of the most important aspects of effective communication is clarity. When you're clear about your expectations, goals, and feedback, you reduce the chances of misunderstandings. In a professional setting, this means being specific about what you need from your colleagues or employees. Instead of saying, "I need this done quickly," you might say, "I need this report completed by 3 p.m. today so that we can review it before the meeting tomorrow." Clarity also means avoiding jargon or overly complex language that could confuse the listener. If you're explaining a technical concept to someone who isn't familiar with the terminology, break it down into simpler terms. For instance, instead of saying, "We need to optimize our SEO strategy by improving our keyword density and meta tags," you could say, "We need to make our website easier to find on search engines by using the right words and tags in our content." Active listening and performance. Great communication isn't just about speaking well, it's about listening well, too. Active listening, as we've discussed, involves being fully engaged with a speaker, understanding their message, and responding thoughtfully. This is crucial in a work environment where collaboration and teamwork are key. For example, if a team member is struggling with a task, an active listener might pick up on their frustration and offer support before it turns into a bigger issue. This could involve asking open-ended questions like, "What challenges are you facing with this task?" Or, "How can I help you move forward?" By listening actively, you not only help solve problems more efficiently but also build trust and improve morale. Nonverbal communication, the unspoken impact. Nonverbal communication plays a significant role in how your message is received. Your body language, eye contact, and facial expressions can either reinforce your words or undermine them. For instance, if you're giving positive feedback but your arms are crossed and your tone is flat, the person might feel that you're not genuinely appreciative. To enhance your performance through communication, be mindful of your nonverbal cues. Maintain open body language, make eye contact, and use gestures that align with your message. This not only makes your communication more effective, but also helps build rapport with your audience, whether it's one person or a whole team. Real-life example, the power of feedback. Imagine you're leading a team that just completed a major project. Instead of simply saying, "Good job, everyone," you take the time to provide specific feedback. You might say, "I really appreciate how you managed the timeline so effectively, Sarah. Your attention to detail helped us meet the deadline without any last-minute stress. John, your creative approach to problem-solving was key in overcoming that unexpected challenge with the client." This kind of feedback does more than just acknowledge effort. It reinforces the behaviors and actions that led to success. It also shows your team that you're paying attention and that their contributions are valued. As a result, they're more likely to continue performing well and even improve in areas where they receive constructive feedback. Tips for enhancing communication to boost performance. Be clear and concise. Make sure your messages are easy to understand and free of unnecessary details. Listen actively. Pay attention to what others are saying and respond in a way that shows you've understood their message. Provide specific feedback. Offer feedback that is detailed and focused on particular actions or behaviors. Be mindful of nonverbal cues. Ensure your body language and tone match the message you're trying to convey. Encourage open dialogue. Create an environment where people feel comfortable asking questions and sharing ideas. A quote to inspire your communication. As Peter Drucker, renowned management consultant, once said, "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said." This quote highlights the importance of understanding the unspoken elements of communication, whether it's reading between the lines, picking up on nonverbal cues, or recognizing the emotional undertones of a conversation. The bottom line: by improving your communication skills, you can enhance your overall performance, both individually and as part of a team. Clear, effective communication fosters understanding, minimizes errors, and creates a more positive and productive environment. So, the next time you're in a conversation, whether it's giving instructions, offering feedback, or just sharing ideas, remember that the way you communicate can make all the difference in achieving your goals. Focus point 4. Understanding the emotional undercurrents in communication. Communication is much more than a mere exchange of words. It's a complex dance where emotions play a vital role. Have you ever been in a conversation where everything seemed fine on the surface, but you felt an underlying tension or unspoken feelings? These are the emotional undercurrents that can either enhance or disrupt communication. Understanding these undercurrents can help you navigate conversations with greater empathy, insight, and effectiveness. The silent messages we send. Every conversation carries two levels of communication, the literal content and the emotional subtext. While the content is what we say, the subtext is how we feel about what's being said. This subtext is often conveyed through tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, and even the choice of words. For example, someone might say, "I'm fine," but their clipped tone, crossed arms, and lack of eye contact might suggest otherwise. Recognizing these cues is key to understanding the true message. Consider this quote by Maya Angelou. "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This highlights the lasting impact of emotional undercurrents in our interactions. While the words themselves might fade, the emotions they stirred linger, shaping our relationships and perceptions. Reading between the lines. Understanding emotional undercurrents involves reading between the lines, paying attention to what's not being said as much as to what is. This requires a combination of active listening, empathy, and intuition. For instance, if a colleague says they're happy with the new project assignment, but their enthusiasm seems forced, you might gently probe further. I noticed you didn't seem as excited as usual. Is there anything on your mind? By acknowledging the emotional undercurrent, you open the door for a more honest and meaningful conversation. This not only helps you understand the other person's true feelings, but also builds trust and rapport as they see that you're attuned to their emotional state. Emotional intelligence in action. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. High EQ is essential for navigating the emotional undercurrents in communication. It involves being aware of how emotions influence our thoughts and behaviors and being able to adjust our communication style accordingly. For example, in a leadership role, you might need to deliver difficult feedback to an employee. Understanding the emotional impact of your words, you could choose to frame the feedback in a way that is constructive and supportive. Instead of saying, "Your performance has been unsatisfactory," you might say, "I've noticed some areas where you're struggling, and I'd like to work together to help you improve." This approach acknowledges the emotional weight of the conversation while fostering a sense of collaboration and support. Real-life example: navigating emotional undercurrents. Imagine you're having a conversation with a friend who seems distant. They're answering your questions but offering little in return. You sense that something is off, so instead of ignoring it, you might say, "You seem a bit distracted today. Is everything okay?" This simple acknowledgement of the emotional undercurrent can open up a dialogue where your friend feels safe to share what's really going on, whether it's stress at work, a personal issue, or just feeling overwhelmed. The role of empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their emotions from their perspective. It's a crucial tool for decoding emotional undercurrents. When you empathize with someone, you not only hear their words but also connect with the feelings behind those words. This deeper understanding allows you to respond in a way that is both compassionate and effective. For instance, if a colleague is unusually quiet during a meeting, instead of assuming they're uninterested, you might consider that they're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. A simple, "You've been quiet today. Anything you'd like to add or share?" shows that you're attuned to their emotional state and invites them to participate in a way that feels safe and supportive. Tips for navigating emotional undercurrents. Tune into nonverbal cues. Pay attention to body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice to pick up on emotional undercurrents. Practice active empathy. Try to understand the emotions behind the words. What might the other person be feeling and why? Acknowledge emotions. If you sense an emotional undercurrent, gently acknowledge it. This can help bring unspoken feelings to the surface. Be mindful of your own emotions. Check in with yourself to see how your emotions might be influencing your communication. Create a safe space. Encourage open and honest communication by being non-judgmental and supportive. A quote to reflect on. As Daniel Goleman, a pioneer in emotional intelligence, said, "Emotions are contagious, and they're the driving force behind most human behavior." Understanding and managing the emotional undercurrents in communication is not just about improving interactions. It's about influencing the very outcomes of those interactions. The bottom line: understanding emotional undercurrents in communication is like having a sixth sense that allows you to see beyond the surface of conversations. By tuning into these unspoken emotions, you can respond more effectively, build stronger connections, and create a more harmonious environment in both personal and professional settings. So, the next time you're in a conversation, listen not just to the words, but to the emotions that ripple beneath them. It's there that the true power of communication lies. Focus point 5. Identifying and overcoming listening barriers. Listening is a fundamental skill that often gets overlooked in our fast-paced world. We're so eager to share our thoughts, opinions, and ideas that we sometimes forget to truly listen to others. Yet, effective listening is key to understanding, connecting with, and responding to those around us. However, barriers to listening can impede this process, leading to misunderstandings, conflicts, and missed opportunities. Identifying and overcoming these barriers is essential for fostering better communication and relationships. Common listening barriers. Listening barriers come in many forms, and they can be both internal and external. Let's explore some of the most common ones. Distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere: phones buzzing, emails pinging, or even our own thoughts drifting. These distractions can prevent us from fully engaging in a conversation. For example, if you're in a meeting but constantly checking your phone, you're likely missing key points of the discussion. Prejudices and assumptions. We all have preconceived notions about people, topics, or situations. These biases can cloud our ability to listen objectively. If you enter a conversation already believing that the other person's opinion is wrong or irrelevant, you'll be less likely to listen with an open mind. Emotional triggers. Certain topics or words can evoke strong emotional reactions, making it difficult to listen calmly and rationally. For instance, if someone brings up a topic you feel passionate about, you might find yourself focusing on preparing your rebuttal rather than truly listening to their perspective. Physical barriers. Environmental factors like noise, uncomfortable seating, or poor acoustics can also hinder our ability to listen effectively. If you're trying to have a serious conversation in a noisy cafe, for example, the background noise might prevent you from hearing everything clearly. Lack of interest. When we're not genuinely interested in the topic or the speaker, our attention wanes, and we may find ourselves only half listening. This can happen in both professional and personal contexts, leading to a superficial understanding of the conversation. Overcoming listening barriers. Now that we've identified some common listening barriers, let's look at strategies for overcoming them. Minimize distractions. Create a listening environment that is as free from distractions as possible. If you're in a meeting, put your phone on silent and focus solely on the speaker. If you're having a one-on-one conversation, choose a quiet place where you can give the other person your full attention. Challenge your assumptions. Approach each conversation with an open mind. Before jumping to conclusions, remind yourself that everyone has unique experiences and perspectives that are worth considering. Practicing empathy can help you listen without judgment and appreciate different viewpoints. Manage emotional reactions. If a topic triggers a strong emotional response, take a deep breath and try to remain calm. Focus on the speaker's words rather than your emotional reaction. If necessary, ask for a moment to gather your thoughts before responding, or revisit the topic once you've had time to reflect. Improve the environment. If physical barriers are affecting your ability to listen, take steps to improve the environment. This might mean moving to a quieter location, ensuring you're sitting comfortably, or asking the speaker to speak more clearly if you're having trouble hearing them. Cultivate genuine interest. Even if the topic isn't naturally interesting to you, try to find something about the conversation that engages you. This might involve asking more questions or connecting the topic to something you're passionate about. By finding a point of interest, you can stay more engaged and listen more effectively. Real-life example: overcoming biases and listening. Imagine you're in a team meeting and a colleague you've had disagreements with in the past is presenting an idea. You might be tempted to dismiss their idea before they've even finished speaking, based on your previous experiences. However, by recognizing this bias and consciously setting it aside, you give yourself the chance to listen fully and objectively. You might find that their idea has merit, or, at the very least, you'll gain a better understanding of their perspective, which can lead to more constructive collaboration in the future. The importance of active listening. Active listening is the antidote to many of these barriers. It involves not just hearing the words, but also fully engaging with the speaker, asking clarifying questions, and providing feedback that shows you've understood their message. By practicing active listening, you can overcome many of the common barriers that prevent effective communication. Tips for active listening. Focus on the speaker. Make eye contact, nod, and use verbal affirmations like "I see" or "go on" to show that you're engaged. Paraphrase and summarize. Repeat back what the speaker has said in your own words to ensure you've understood correctly. For example, "So, what you're saying is..." Ask open-ended questions. Encourage the speaker to elaborate by asking questions that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. For example, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What are your thoughts on this issue?" Be patient. Give the speaker time to express themselves fully without interrupting. Sometimes, silence can be a powerful tool in allowing someone to gather their thoughts. Reflect on what's being said. Take a moment to consider the speaker's message before responding. This reflection helps you avoid impulsive reactions and respond thoughtfully. A quote to inspire better listening. As Stephen R. Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, wisely noted, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. This quote serves as a reminder that true listening requires us to focus on understanding the other person's message, rather than just preparing our own response. The bottom line: overcoming listening barriers is crucial for effective communication and building strong relationships. By recognizing the obstacles that hinder your ability to listen and actively working to overcome them, you can become a more attentive, empathetic, and effective communicator. Whether in the workplace, at home, or in social situations, better listening leads to better understanding, and that's the foundation for meaningful connections and successful interactions. Focus point 6. Techniques for smoother, more effective communication. Effective communication is like the oil that keeps the machinery of relationships and organizations running smoothly. Whether you're talking to a colleague, a friend, or a family member, the way you communicate can either build bridges or create barriers. To ensure your interactions are as smooth and productive as possible, mastering certain communication techniques is essential. Let's explore some strategies that can help you communicate more effectively, leading to stronger connections, clearer understanding, and better outcomes. 1. Clarity is key. One of the most important aspects of smooth communication is clarity. If your message is muddled or unclear, it's easy for misunderstandings to arise. To avoid this, always aim to be clear and concise in your communication. Example: instead of saying, "We need to think about the project timeline and maybe adjust some deadlines," you could say, "Let's review the project timeline today and decide which deadlines need to be adjusted." The latter is direct and leaves no room for ambiguity. Tip: before you speak or send a message, take a moment to think about what you want to say. Consider the key points you need to convey and the most straightforward way to express them. 2. Practice active listening. Smooth communication isn't just about how well you speak, it's also about how well you listen. Active listening involves fully concentrating on the speaker, understanding their message, responding thoughtfully, and remembering what was said. When people feel heard, they are more likely to reciprocate, leading to a smoother, more respectful exchange. Example: if a colleague is explaining a problem they're facing, instead of immediately jumping in with advice, listen fully, then say, "It sounds like you're really struggling with this. What do you think might help?" Tip: use verbal and nonverbal cues, like nodding or saying "I see," to show that you're engaged. Reflecting back what the speaker has said is also a powerful way to show you're listening. 3. Use positive language. The words you choose can have a significant impact on the tone and outcome of a conversation. Positive language not only helps in keeping the communication smooth, but also builds rapport and fosters a constructive atmosphere. Example: instead of saying, "I don't think this idea will work," try, "That's an interesting idea. How do you think we could make it more practical?" Tip: even when delivering criticism or negative feedback, try to frame it in a way that focuses on potential solutions rather than just the problem. This approach can prevent defensiveness and keep the conversation productive. 4. Be aware of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication, such as body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, plays a crucial role in how your message is received. Often, people will interpret your nonverbal cues as much as, if not more than, your words. Example: you might say, "I'm fine," but if your arms are crossed, your voice is tense, and you're avoiding eye contact, the other person is likely to sense that you're not fine at all. Tip: pay attention to your own nonverbal signals and be aware of the nonverbal cues of others. Align your body language with your words to reinforce your message. 5. Ask open-ended questions. Asking open-ended questions is a powerful technique to encourage dialogue and ensure a smoother flow of conversation. These questions require more than a yes or no answer, inviting the other person to share more information, thoughts, or feelings. Example: instead of asking, "Did you like the meeting?" ask, What did you think about the meeting? The latter encourages the person to provide a more detailed response, leading to a richer conversation. Tip: open-ended questions are especially useful in problem-solving situations, as they allow you to explore different perspectives and uncover underlying issues. 6. Adapt your communication style. Not everyone communicates in the same way, so being able to adapt your style to suit the situation and the person you're talking to can lead to smoother interactions. Some people prefer direct, straightforward communication, while others might appreciate a more nuanced, indirect approach. Example: if you're speaking with a colleague who values efficiency, you might say, "Let's get straight to the point." But if you're speaking with someone who values a more relational approach, you might start with, "How are you today? Let's catch up before we dive into business." Tip: pay attention to how the other person communicates and try to match their style. This can help put them at ease and make the conversation more fluid. 7. Provide feedback thoughtfully. Giving and receiving feedback is a critical component of effective communication, but it's important to do so in a way that is constructive rather than confrontational. Thoughtful feedback helps build trust and improves performance without creating tension. Example: instead of saying, "You did this wrong," you might say, "I noticed this part didn't work out as planned. How can we approach it differently next time?" Tip: use the sandwich method for feedback. Start with a positive comment, follow with constructive criticism, and end with another positive comment. This helps soften the impact of the criticism and keeps the conversation positive. 8. Be mindful of timing. Sometimes, even the right message can be poorly received if the timing is off. Understanding when to communicate certain messages is key to ensuring they are heard and accepted. Example: bringing up a complex issue at the end of a long meeting when everyone is tired might not be the best time. Instead, schedule a separate meeting when everyone is fresh and focused. Tip: consider the emotional and mental state of the person you're communicating with. Are they rushed, stressed, or distracted? If so, it might be better to wait until a more opportune time to have the conversation. The bottom line: effective communication is not just about speaking well. It's about engaging in a dialogue that is clear, respectful, and responsive to the needs of both parties. By incorporating these techniques, focusing on clarity, listening actively, using positive language, being aware of nonverbal cues, asking open-ended questions, adapting your style, providing thoughtful feedback, and choosing the right timing, you can make your interactions smoother, more effective, and more rewarding. Remember, communication is a skill that can always be refined. The more you practice these techniques, the more naturally they will come to you, leading to better relationships and more successful outcomes in both your personal and professional life. Focus point 7. Harnessing the art of persuasion in your interactions. Persuasion is an art form that, when mastered, can transform the way you communicate and influence others. Whether you're trying to convince a colleague to support your idea, encouraging a friend to adopt a healthier lifestyle, or negotiating a deal, the ability to persuade effectively can make all the difference. Persuasion isn't about manipulation. It's about presenting your ideas in a way that resonates with others and leads them to see things from your perspective. The power of ethos, pathos, and logos. To truly harness the art of persuasion, it's helpful to understand the 3 classic modes of persuasion defined by Aristotle: ethos, pathos, and logos. These are the foundational elements that can make your arguments compelling and impactful. Ethos. Credibility ethos is all about establishing your credibility and trustworthiness. People are more likely to be persuaded by someone they perceive as knowledgeable, reliable, and ethical. Example: if you're presenting a new strategy at work, mentioning your past successes and experience can help build your ethos. You might say, "Based on the results we achieved last quarter with a similar approach, I'm confident this strategy will work." Tip: always back up your claims with evidence or references to your expertise. Your reputation and the way you present yourself, confident but not arrogant, can significantly influence your ability to persuade. Pathos. Emotional appeal. Pathos involves appealing to the emotions of your audience. Emotions drive action, so connecting with your audience on an emotional level can be incredibly persuasive. Example: if you're trying to persuade a team to work extra hours to meet a deadline, you could appeal to their sense of pride and accomplishment. You might say, Imagine how rewarding it will feel to complete this project on time and deliver results that exceed expectations. Tip: use stories, metaphors, and vivid language to evoke emotions. However, be genuine. People can sense when emotional appeals are inauthentic. Logical appeal logos, is the appeal to logic and reason. By presenting clear, well-structured arguments supported by data and facts, you can persuade others through rational thinking. Example: when proposing a budget increase, you could lay out a logical case with facts and figures. By investing an additional $10,000 in marketing, we project a 15% increase in sales, which will result in an overall profit gain of $50,000. Tip: structure your arguments logically and provide clear evidence to support your claims. A well-reasoned argument that addresses potential counterpoints will be more convincing. Techniques for persuasion. Understand your audience. To persuade effectively, you need to understand your audience's values, needs, and concerns. Tailoring your message to resonate with what matters most to them is crucial. Example: if you're trying to convince a health-conscious friend to try a new restaurant, emphasize the healthy menu options and the use of organic ingredients. You might say, "They have a fantastic selection of fresh, organic dishes that I know you'll love." Tip: do your homework before important conversations. Knowing what motivates your audience can help you craft a message that speaks directly to them. Reciprocity. The principle of reciprocity suggests that people are more likely to be persuaded if they feel they owe you something. When you do something for others, they're more inclined to return the favor. Example: if you help a colleague with a challenging task, they're more likely to support your ideas in future meetings. You might say, "I was happy to help with that report last week. Could you assist me with this project in return?" Tip: be genuine in your actions. Reciprocity works best when it comes from a place of sincerity, not manipulation. Consistency. People like to be consistent with their previous commitments and actions. If you can get someone to agree to a small request, they're more likely to agree to a larger request later on. Example: if you're fundraising for a cause, start by asking someone to sign a petition. Later, when you ask for a donation, they'll be more likely to contribute because they've already shown support. Tip: start with small, easy-to-agree-to commitments that align with the larger request you eventually plan to make. Social proof. Social proof is the idea that people are influenced by what others are doing. If they see that others are supporting your idea or product, they're more likely to do so as well. Example: if you're launching a new product, share testimonials or stories of satisfied customers. You might say, "Over 1,000 people have already tried and loved our product. Here's what they're saying." Tip: use real examples and data to show that your idea or proposal is already gaining traction and support. Scarcity. The principle of scarcity suggests that people are more motivated to act if they believe something is in limited supply or that they might miss out on an opportunity. Example: if you're promoting a limited-time offer, you might say, "This deal is only available until Friday. Don't miss out on these savings." Tip: highlight the unique and exclusive benefits of what you're offering, but avoid creating false urgency, as this can damage trust. Real-life example: persuading in the workplace. Imagine you're in a meeting where you're proposing a new workflow that requires additional resources. To persuade your team, you first establish your ethos by referencing your past successes in optimizing workflows. Then, you appeal to pathos by describing how this new workflow will reduce stress and workload, leading to a happier, more productive team. Finally, you use logos by presenting data that shows the potential increase in efficiency and productivity. By combining ethos, pathos, and logos, you present a well-rounded, persuasive argument that appeals to different aspects of your team's decision-making process. Overcoming resistance. Even the best persuasive techniques can meet with resistance. It's important to anticipate objections and be prepared to address them calmly and logically. Example: if someone is resistant to your idea because they're concerned about the cost, acknowledge their concern and then present a cost-benefit analysis that shows the long-term savings or benefits outweigh the initial expense. Tip: listen to the other person's concerns and ask clarifying questions to understand their perspective. Then, address those concerns with empathy and facts. A quote to inspire your persuasion skills. As Dale Carnegie, author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, wisely stated, "The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it." This quote reminds us that persuasion is not about winning battles, but about finding common ground and guiding others to see the value in our perspective. The bottom line: harnessing the art of persuasion is about more than just getting people to agree with you. It's about building trust, connecting with others, and guiding them to see the benefits of your ideas. By understanding your audience, using the principles of ethos, pathos, and logos, and employing effective persuasive techniques, you can communicate more powerfully and influence others in a positive, constructive way. Remember, persuasion is a skill that can be developed with practice. The more you refine your ability to persuade, the more effective you'll be in your personal and professional interactions, leading to more successful outcomes and stronger relationships. Conclusion: as we wrap up this journey into the world of deep listening and effective communication, remember that the skills you've learned here are not just tools. They are pathways to stronger relationships, greater understanding, and success in both your personal and professional life. Recommendations: practice active listening. Make a conscious effort to fully engage in every conversation. Use critical thinking, reflect on what's being said, and respond thoughtfully. Enhance your communication. Focus on clarity, positivity, and adaptability. Understand emotions. Tune into the emotional undercurrents of every interaction. Overcome barriers. Identify and eliminate anything that hinders your ability to listen effectively. Smooth your conversations. Apply techniques that make your communication more fluid and impactful. Master persuasion. Use ethos, pathos, and logos to influence and inspire others. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of listening and communication. Your support means the world, and I hope you found this audiobook insightful and practical. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to MediaDeem for more content that helps you grow, learn, and connect. Remember, listening is a crucial part of mastering any language. As the saying goes, the more you listen, the better you speak. So keep listening, keep learning, and watch your communication skills soar to new heights. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep practicing the art of deep listening.